Hey, I'm back. Just got these two big duck eggs. Was not expecting that, but that's not related. I wanted to shoot a quick video, just kind of give an encouragement. If you want to grow some food, but you're new to it, you've never done it before, you're thinking, oh, it seems like it's really difficult. What if I buy the wrong thing? What if I do the wrong thing? I just wanted to give you some quick encouragement that you can do it. I guarantee you, if I can do it, you can do it. I'm no smarter than you. I came here knowing nothing. I grow food every year. It's not as hard as you think. And even if you're in an apartment, and you only got a balcony or just like a little stoop outside, you can still grow something. So I just want to talk really quick about what works well for me. You have to adapt it because, depending on your climate, things like that, it's going to change what is going to work best for you. We got to kind of do some research. But I feel like for most of the contiguous United States and of Europe, a lot of what I'm going to say applies, but you just have to change things around a bit because if you're in warmer spots, it can get obviously too hot for certain things. So you got to know about that. But so if you're new to this stuff and you want something simple that'll give you stuff that you're going to love, there's a few suggestions I got for you. Now, again, depending on your area, there may be other things, but for me, these are the ones I'm always excited to grow. First is potatoes. I love potatoes. You can tell probably by looking at me that I love potatoes. There is nothing better to me than plucking potatoes out of the ground at the end of the growing season. I absolutely love growing potatoes. It is the most calorie dense thing you can grow relatively easily. It's really set and forget. As long as you weed it and make sure there's no aphids on it, it's real set and forget. It's real easy. Now you might be thinking, Alec, I don't got a big space. I got a stoop or a balcony. Let me explain to you. There is a way where you can plant these things in a 5-gallon bucket, as long as you poke holes in the bottom. And you can in that bucket, you can do a mixture of potting soil and some straw to loosen it up a little bit, so that way you get some more flowage. And basically, all you do is you take a potato. Don't use ones from the store. See if you can buy an actual like seed potato, because they spray the ones at the store with a chemical that reduces sprouting for obvious reasons. But you take a seed potato, cut it. It's got eyes on it. Cut it along where the eyes are into 2 or 3 parts. They should be probably about this big. And put one in the bucket facing up, with the eye facing up, at the bottom of it. Because potatoes, what they do is it starts at the bottom with what you plant. The vine goes up, and then the tubers spread out of the vine. That was something I didn't know before I did it, because I was so confused. Like, how the hell do these potatoes even grow? I was so confused as to how that worked. But no, it grows up, and then it tubes out. So you want to put it at the bottom, leave a little bit of space. Obviously, it needs root structure, but put that in there. In a few months, you'll be able to take that bucket, chop the top off, turn it over. You'll have plenty of potatoes. It's even easier than doing it in the field. You don't even have to dig it up. So that's really cool. So you can do that. You can do that on a balcony. You can do that on a stoop. You can do it wherever you want. And I think that's really cool. I've tried it once. I have a lot of space, so I don't have to worry about it. If you're doing it in the ground, obviously, just dig a foot down. The best thing to do is to amend with something that's thinner, like a perlite, or adding hay, like I said, with the potting soil. But if you have a naturally sandy or sandy loam soil, you're not going to have to worry as much about that. So that might be fine for you if your soil is like that. But obviously, take a look at it, see, because if it's high in clay like mine, it holds a lot of water, and it's going to cause a lot of problems. So you got to be ready for that. But mending takes time. It's the additive things that are tough. It's not putting the thing in the ground. That's easy. It's everything else. So don't be afraid to put things in the ground. Worst thing that'll happen is nothing happens. That's life. Sometimes you do things that don't work. But I think you'll be a lot more successful than you think. All right, moving on. So we got those potatoes, probably the number one thing I recommend. If you're way in the south, or in a warmer climate, I suppose I should say, you can grow sweet potatoes from slips. I know nothing about that because you can't even grow them up here. It's way too cold unless you got a greenhouse. I'm not quite there yet, so I just buy them from the store. But I've heard that sweet potatoes in the South grow real easy too. They're not the same as potatoes, so everything I just told you does not apply. So if you want to grow some sweet potatoes, you're gonna have to go talk to somebody else. Sorry. All right. So number 2, cucurbits. Now you're thinking, Alec, what's a cucurbit? A cucurbit is the squash family of plants. And the reason I say that is that this is important to recognize. If you save seeds or anything like that, you got to be careful with this, because if you plant a bunch of different cucurbit varieties, so you got squash, you got the pumpkins, you got the cucumbers or summer squash. That's all the same. Those are all the same thing. And they can cross-pollinate relatively easily, depending on if they are the same species, and a lot of them are. So you have to be careful of that. But there is no easier plant in this earth to grow than a cucurbit, I'll tell you what. As long as you get enough water, it's easy. All you got to do, you plant one of those big seeds, 2 if you feel really, really unlucky. I guarantee you're not going to need 2. I've only ever had to do 1. I did 2 way back when I didn't know what I was doing. Always had to prune the smallest one. You only need 1. They come up fast. They come up hard. The seeds are big, so they got a lot of energy. So the probability of them starting is really high. And they grow prolifically, I'm telling you. Huge, big plants. I think they look really cool. They spread out. 1 seed can get you, I think the most I've ever gotten out of 1 plant was, man, I don't even know, like 12 to 15 spaghetti squash from 1 seed. That's an insane. And then each one of those vegetables has 100, 200 something seeds in them. I mean, that's crazy. If you can save the seeds, there is not a better plant for seed saving than squash, I'm telling you. Just as long as you don't mix the species together and they cross-pollinate, because you're not going to like what happens if you plant those seeds. But don't worry about that right now. So they grow out. So you're thinking, Alec, I got a balcony. What do I do? Let me tell you. In Italy, and I've seen this done with several different types of crops, but in Italy they have these things called pergolas. Now, a pergola is a structure. It's like an open box, and it's got thatched sides and a thatched roof. So they grow the vines inside this thing. They wrap it up, and then the fruit actually grows down from the top, because that's where the nodes are for the fruit. Now you're thinking, Alec, I can't build a pergola. What are you talking about? Listen. What you can do is you can take some furring strips, some thin pieces of wood, tack them together, put them into a pot, or affix it to something that's more stable, which is actually probably better, because if it's not freestanding, it'll be stronger. And you can train the vines of these cucurbit plants, because it's going to grow out like it's really cool. It looks really cool. They go out and feel. You can train them up. And you can have the nodes go out where they have the fruiting, where the flowers are is where the fruit grows. So you want the flowers to be along the cross sections of this piece. So you got the one long piece, the cross sections, then you got the vine going up along those cross sections. I actually might start doing that myself in my field, just because they take up a lot of space if you let them just grow out. I try to move them so that way they stay in their lane, but even then that doesn't always work. So that's a thing you can do. If you just have like anything graded near where you would put this plant, you can just train it on those and it should be fine. Obviously, if you're growing like pumpkins, you got to worry about the weight of the pumpkin, but these plants are pretty sturdy. You would be amazed what the natural, the vine can hold. I mean, it's crazy. I know a guy that does this method with pumpkins, and there's these huge pumpkins, like gigantic, just hanging down. You're like, how the heck does this plant hold this pumpkin? It's crazy, man. So that's definitely something you can do. I like radishes. Radishes are easy. I don't really know how well they do in pots. I've never even tried or thought about it. They grow in 28 days. So if you're really impatient, good crop for you. There's a chipmunk in here eating this corn. He can have it. That's fine. And then last but not least, if you're saying, Alec, I am not confident enough to do any of that. That sounds way too hard. I don't want to do that. I got the thing for you, and there is no excuse not to do this. you got to do it. I'm telling you, it's going to change your life. Grow herbs. Now you're thinking, I can just go to the store and buy spices and herbs. Why would I grow them? Well, first of all, most of the things you're buying are dried, which you still get the flavor, and sometimes it's actually stronger. But there is a quality to... Yeah, goat's fighting. There's a quality to the wet herb that gives it a sort of flavor when you cook it into a dish that is completely different from when you use dried herbs. And if you buy wet herbs, and I'm doing that right now because I'm still waiting for the season to start, and I use dill and chives, and I've done a few other things with the goat cheese I make. If you buy these things in the store, you're going to be paying like $10 a pound for these spices. And that's if you're in a place that is going to cut you a good deal. It's usually a lot more expensive. So growing these things, they're super easy. There's no reason they should be as expensive as they are at the store. They just, I think they just think people are dumb. I have no idea, but all you need is a tiny pot, like a long one, round one, whatever you got. You can take a bucket and put holes in it. You can do it in a backpack. You poke holes in the bottom of the backpack. You can do it in a plastic bag. All right, just poke holes in the bottom of a plastic bag, put dirt in it, plant some seeds. It doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be fancy. You don't got to set these false barriers to entry. You can just spill soil on the ground and put a seed in it. You don't have to be a master. You don't have to have everything tuned in right away. It's fine. Now, with herbs, each one obviously has different seasons. You're gonna have to look into that for your area because I'm not even gonna begin to tell you because up here it's very strange the seasons. And most herbs, except for the ones that are very heat intolerant, which aren't really many of them, will grow pretty much the entire growing season because it's cold enough for that. But if you're in a place that's hotter, you got to be kind of careful when it's too hot because it'll cause a lot of these things to wilt. I love dill. I love chives. I love cilantro. I love thyme, but that's a perennial. I love, name an herb. Oregano. I'm a big fan of herbs. I really am. They got healing properties. I like chamomile. That's another good one if you like tea. That's easy too, and it looks cool because it's a flower. You really just can't go wrong. It's so easy as long as you know when to plant these things in your region. It's easy. It's as easy as putting a seed in some potting soil. That's all you have to do. Make sure you water it. That's it, and you'll be able to harvest that over and over and over. You can have fresh herbs all summer. Fantastic. I know a guy because he brings his in the winter and he keeps it in his kitchen. He's had the same thing of chives growing for like 5 years. Just keeps coming back because you take it inside. It's got the same conditions. He's got a regular heating system, so it stays at 70. So I always thought that was cool. I can't do that because I don't have regular enough heat where I'm at. But if you got normal heating, that's pretty cool. You'll be able to have fresh chives all year. So some thoughts. It's not, like I said, it's not as hard as you think. Don't let the unknown spook you when it comes to this type of thing, because I'm telling you, there is nothing more rewarding than growing plants. I love growing plants. I love botany. It's really fun. I like going out and looking at wild plants. I just like plants. They're really cool. And when I get to grow them myself, I learn a whole bunch of stuff every year about things you might not know, certain patterns. I didn't know potatoes grew seeds at the top until I grew them for the first time. Not going to elaborate. You're going to have to figure that out for yourself. It's interesting. But and then one more thing. Lettuce, different types of lettuces and kales and spinach especially. I love spinach. It's so easy. Very easy to grow in pots too. Obviously, those ones, rabbits really like those. So if you got rabbits in your area, you got to be careful with that. So just keep an eye out for rabbits. But it's pretty much the same thing as herbs in that regard. It's pretty much the same thing, except it's a leafy plant instead of usually something with a stalk that has a spice in it. Anything else? I think that'll be it for this video. Like I said, get out there, do it. Grow at least one thing this year. If you're going to do anything, just grow one thing and do it really good. You don't have to try really hard to grow a whole bunch of different things. It's probably better if you don't right off the bat. Pick one and do it really good, then move on. That's how you get better at things. It's no different than anything else. So I want you to try. You can do it. You can do it. Have a good day.